Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. We have a lot of updates from stories we brought to you yesterday. In the 7 o'clock hour, coming live to the studio, we have our friend Tony Pucci. He'll be joining us. He has a new book out, Murder on the Grand Canal. It's a part of the Michael Bishop Mystery Series. I really enjoy these books, and it's out today. So he's going to be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. We have a lot we need to get to this morning, an update on the terrorist attack. There is, I guess you could say, breaking news in the governor's race. This is kind of the least surprising and also anticlimactic announcements. But Governor Hochul's estranged lieutenant, Antonio Delgado, has announced he will challenge her in the New York governor's race. We're going to tell you the reaction from Elise Stefanik, Mike Lawler, two Republican names being thrown around that could challenge. But this opens the door for a primary. Again, not a surprise if you've been following it. He has distanced himself from her. I don't even know how effective of a lieutenant governor is he at this point because of how estranged they are. But we could talk about that, get your thoughts on that. A couple other New York updates as well. Some updates on the Democrat Party and that poll that we brought to you yesterday that was from CNN that was disastrous for the Democrat Party. We will talk about that. But first, update on the Boulder, Colorado terrorist attack. President Trump made his feelings clear in a social media post saying yesterday's horrific attack in Boulder, Colorado will not be tolerated in the United States of America. He came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt our country so badly. He must go out under Trump policy. Acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is yet another example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland. My heart goes out to the victims of this terrible tragedy and the great people of Boulder, Colorado. Now, we're learning more about the suspect. He spent a year planning this Molotov cocktail attack on the pro-Israel march, according to documents. This peaceful pro-Israel march that was a regular occurrence, a weekly occurrence. He had been planning this for a year. Mohammed Sabri Solomon, an Egyptian national whose visa, which was granted under the Biden administration, expired in March, told authorities that the violence was a long time in the making. In an interview with authorities, according to the federal complaint, the suspect said he was waiting for his daughter's graduation before carrying out the attack. Following that milestone from his daughter, he allegedly proceeded with his plan. Court documents say he researched how to build incendiary weapons on YouTube, collected the ingredients over time, and transported the homemade devices to Boulder in his silver Toyota Prius. Now, as participants assembled for the peaceful pro-Israel march, Salman allegedly yelled "Free Palestine" and launched two lit Molotov cocktails into the group of people. This was around 2 o'clock their time. The incident, which the FBI has described as a targeted terror attack, left 12 people ages 52 to 88 with injuries, including one in critical condition. None of the victims have died. Solomon later told investigators he specifically targeted what he called a, quote, Zionist group and wished they were all dead. I would do it again, he told authorities. You can find the videos of him yelling that rhetoric. We also learned that he had planned a mass shooting originally, but was stopped from buying guns due to his immigration status. Also, it should be noted that he now faces up to, get this, 624 years in prison if convicted. Now, he admitted to detectives that he had initially planned on gunning down his victims, even taking a concealed carry class where he learned how to fire a weapon. But the Egyptian national was blocked from purchasing the weapon because his U.S. visa had expired. Judicial District Attorney Michael Daughtry said at a press conference yesterday afternoon in Boulder. Solomon appeared in Denver court for a brief appearance yesterday afternoon dressed in orange with a white bandage wrapped around his face. He responded yes when asked by the judge whether he understood the orders of protection against him involving the 12 victims. Authorities said they increased their initial victims count from 8 when 4 witnesses later came forward and had also minor wounds from the attack. 2 of the 12 people hurt are still hospitalized, including the one, as I mentioned earlier, in critical condition. He is facing 16 attempted murder charges for the attacks, which, if convicted, could land him up to 384 years in prison. He is also facing a sentence of 48 years for using 2 Molotov cocktails and 192 years for attempted use of the 16 unused incendiary devices investigators found near where he was arrested. And he was also hit with federal hate crime charges. Now, some Egyptian news outlets are painting this terrorist attack and this Solomon, as having some connection to the Muslim Brotherhood. This is coming on Drudge Report this morning and from the piece by the Jerusalem Post. Egyptian news outlets have seized on the arson attack in Boulder, Colorado to revive allegations against the Muslim Brotherhood, branding the Egyptian-born suspect, Mohammed Sabri Solomon, as a supporter of the outlawed movement, even though U.S. investigators have provided no such findings. All right, so there's a little bit of an update from that story that we brought to you yesterday. Now, the Boulder terror attack suspect showed signs of this growing kind of lone wolf radicalization that we talked about in the past on this program, and many people have had this discussion. From a behavioral and psychological profiling perspective, this suggests impulsive extremism or a desire for martyrdom rather than escape or survival, said Jason Pack, a retired FBI supervisor, special agent, that he told Fox News Digital. These traits are often associated with ideologically driven lone actors. The kind of attacker typically operates without a support network, but may be influenced by online propaganda or perceived injustices. The erratic behavior, crude weaponry, and politically charged language point to a disorganized, emotionally unstable individual whose radicalization, if confirmed, could place the case within the growing trend of unpredictable, lone wolf-style domestic attacks. Now, again, according to the affidavit, during the interview, Solomon stated that he researched on YouTube how to make Molotov cocktails, purchased the ingredients to do so, and constructed them. He traveled to Boulder in his vehicle with the Molotov cocktails and threw 2 of them at individuals participating in that pro-Israel gathering. He also stated that he picked up gas at a gas station on the way to Boulder. Pack continued, saying, "In my years with the FBI, I've seen cases just like this. It's rare, but not unheard of, for someone to act out violently in support of a cause, especially when the person feels isolated, powerless, or desperate. Based on what we know, based on the information we now know, Solomon appears to fit the profile of a lone actor, someone with a grievance who may have felt unheard and decided to lash out." Now, Tom Homan is convinced that the U.S. will see, because of this, a major terror attack because of the lax border policies under the Biden administration. "It's coming," Holman said, of the possibility of a 9/11 style attack conducted by migrants who illegally snuck across the southern border under Biden. The roughly 2 million so-called got-away migrants that Border Patrol agents never apprehended during the previous administration concerns Tom Homan more than the drug smuggling or sex trafficking that took place on the U.S.-Mexico border during Biden's only term in office. He said, "These 2 million known gotaways scares the, we'll say, heck out of me. I'm convinced something's coming unless we can find them." He noted, why did 2 2 million illegal aliens pay more to get away. They could have paid half of what they paid to cross the border, turn themselves into Border Patrol agents, get released the same day, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, plus free medical care and work authorization. 2 million people paid more to get away. They didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. Why? Scary but poignant question from Tom Homan. This scares the heck out of me, and I've been doing this for 40 years. It should have scared the heck out of every American what the Biden administration did. Homan lamented that even through the legal process, the Biden administration was bringing people unvetted and handing out work visas like they were candy. Now, members of the squad who kind of have this reputation for some very radicalized words, some questionable stances when it comes to Israel, they condemned the anti-Semitic attack. AOC saying, "I'm horrified by last night's horrific attack in Boulder. My heart is with the victims and our Jewish communities across the country. Anti-Semitism is on the rise here at home, and we have a moral responsibility to confront and stop it everywhere it exists." Representative Ilhan Omar saying, "I'm holding the victims and families in Boulder, Colorado in my heart. Violence against anyone is never acceptable. We must reject hatred and harm in all its forms." Now, if you recall, she was censored back in 2024 for alleged anti-Semitism. While that censure resolution never passed, the House did vote to censor fellow squad member Representative Rashida Tlaib. Tlaib tweeting out, "The violent attack in Boulder is horrific. My heart goes out to all the victims and their families. Violence has no place in our communities." These all sound exactly the same, don't they? Wow. Okay. Now, CNN, and I'm not going to spend all morning on this, but I did have to give you an update since we spent quite some time discussing it yesterday. But CNN was kind of criticized, blasted, as they put on the internet, after they made some comments during their broadcast saying that the FBI was being, quote, juvenile. Juliette Kayyem, one of the network's national security analysts, came under fire after challenging FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino when they declared Sunday's violence at a pro-Israel rally in Boulder as a, quote, targeted terror attack. Kayyem said it makes law enforcement look disorganized and it makes the FBI look so juvenile. Like, why are you getting ahead of the police chief who says, "I don't know what this is"? So there's the video of him yelling "Free Palestine," talking about Zionists, but it's juvenile for the FBI to get ahead of this as compared to the local police chief. The local police chief saying at the time, "We don't know what it is." I thought it was kind of a weird reaction. I know playing it safe or playing it close to the vest, but to use the term juvenile proves yet again that this is an example of just the hatred for Trump and Trump's administration to cloud your judgment. She continued, "We're going to take a step back, not be responsive to tweets by two heads of the FBI who don't have a long history in law enforcement. And we will wait and hope it isn't what we all worry it is. And if it is, then there'll be an investigation." Now, Kayyem, a former Department of Homeland Security official under President Barack Obama and current Harvard professor, yes, she's a current Harvard professor, added that if the probe found the violence was spurred by terrorism, she'd be the first to say it's a hate crime. But until we do, we all need to not follow the FBI tweets. So just go to CNN and hear Kayyem make her charged rhetoric and not the heads of the FBI. Of course, that hate crime charge was levied against Solomon. Now, the backlash was swift on social media, with many pointing to footage of the attack as he was screaming "Free Palestine." As Ben Williamson, an assistant director for the FBI's Public Affairs Unit, wrote, "The guy shouted 'Free Palestine' while throwing firebombs at a crowd of Jewish people. We correctly referred to an investigation of terrorism. We'll continue to do so, and we have zero interest in what either these CNN guests have to say. Kick rocks." He finished up. Okay. Another raged. "There's a man on video in Boulder ranting about Zionism as he sets Jews on fire. CNN's first reaction, Andrew McCabe and Obama official Juliette Kayyem bashing Dan Bongino and Kash Patel as juvenile and irresponsible for saying that was an act of terror. Juliette Kayyem's degrading remark about the FBI, Patel, and Bongino is unacceptable. She must apologize to them publicly, then she should be fired. The people have had enough of the woke mentality. CNN should be ashamed of itself. So there's a couple opinion pieces on this we'll get to. I have to take a short break. We do want to get into New York State issues, and as I said, we do have a guest this morning. Tony Pucci's going to tell us about his new book. Looking forward to that. But we just have a couple of op-eds on this that I'd like to get your opinion on. Then we're going to get into the New York State issues. As I said, there's actually a couple Andrew Cuomo updates that I think are worth mentioning quickly. I think there's a very good point that Andrew Cuomo, and I can't remember who wrote it. I've got it here before we go to break, but your thoughts on it, that Andrew Cuomo is not a good candidate. It's just that all the other candidates are worse, and that is why his polling numbers are so high. And I think there is a point to be said about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about the big, beautiful bill, hopefully, at some point. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Frankly Speaking, Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact Boss Security for all your business and home security needs.
Advanced rope surgery is now available in the Southern Tier. With the Da Vinci Surgical System, experienced local surgeons at UR Medicine St. James and Jones Memorial Hospitals can perform minimally invasive procedures with greater precision.
That means less pain, shorter hospital stays, and a faster recovery so you can get back to life sooner.
Trust the expertise of your local surgeons and the most advanced technology for your surgery.
You no longer need to travel for cutting-edge surgical care.
Visit robotics.urmc.edu for more information.
What better start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
It's the 20 Cardboard Boat Regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025. Attention all. It's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta. A day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark, get set, row.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from Mark during our Student Senior Services section of our program, where we read comments from viewers. Student Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Okay, interesting. Are we having a little bit of technical issues this morning? How bad is it? Let me know. But a comment from Mark. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. That guy with the Molotov cocktail needs to be put on a big brush pile and burned so the whole world can see that they will, and that will stop these terrorist actions. Thank you, Mark. Now, Simon Hankson, said that common sense but true. Don't let people who hate America move here. And he goes through and talks about, pledging allegiance to the flag, these type of things when he moved to the United States. That was mandated in the schools. Like so many other Americans who came here legally and became citizens, nothing rankles me more than seeing disrespect, ingratitude, and even homicidal violence from some who have been granted the opportunity to come here or allowed to remain despite coming illegally. You'd figure the least they could do would be to obey our rules and respect our culture and values. Watching Columbia University and other supposed elite institutions become hotbeds of radical protests and support for anti-Semitism and terrorist violence has been painful. It's bad enough when the ill-informed youth are homegrown, but when foreign students here on visas are leading the charge, it's too much to take. So we shouldn't and we don't have to. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's recent announcement that he will interpret our visa laws to keep out those who would steal our secrets, undermine our democracy, or obstruct our foreign policy abroad is news worth cheering. He's suggesting nothing new. Our immigration law already contains many ineligibilities, both statutory and discretionary, which he can yield. All across the developed West, the same crisis is playing out. Who gets to decide who comes in and who stays? Does our citizenship have any value? Do we ask nothing in exchange? The global left does not believe in borders. They think anyone, anywhere, should be allowed to live where they want. When they get there, the left believes they should get all the rights of citizens: healthcare, education, welfare, and even the vote. For them, under no circumstances should a foreigner, invited or not, criminal or not, ever be evicted. This is a recipe for national suicide, and it's a choice we should reject. And he ties it in with the Egyptian illegal immigrant who attempted to murder, as we've been talking about all morning, several American Jews in Boulder. But he wraps up by saying, no foreign national has a right to a U.S. visa. Once they arrive, each visitor must do what he said he was coming here to do and obey our laws. Some will learn to value this country enough to want to become Americans. Many of these will find a way, and they are welcome. But to preserve this unique society so many still want to join, we need to start according our country the singular value it deserves. And Isaac Shore had a point that we made yesterday, saying that everyone knows when he was talking about Zionists, when he was talking about Free Palestine, what he meant. Just as for everyone paying attention, Sunday's events came as no shock at all. For many of our self-professed betters, the murder, rape, torture, and kidnapping of Israeli civilians, whose only crime was living in their homeland, did not serve as a harbinger of moral clarity, but an excuse to scrutinize the Israeli response to Hamas's barbaric attacks on its citizens. From October 8, 2023 onward, Western elites in the press, academia, and entertainment have been working feverishly towards a perverse objective, using the deadliest attack on Jews since the Holocaust to further villainize the world's most historically persecuted people. Well, mission accomplished. In the span of just 11 days, Israeli embassy workers were gunned down in the streets of Washington by a man yelling "Free Palestine," and pro-Israel laymen were burned in Boulder, and not as a matter of tragic happenstance. No, the emergence of the professional Jew hunter in America was a predictable, even inevitable consequence of the blood libels hurled in the wake of the October 7th attack. For the better part of 2 years now, journalists have breathlessly parroted every last claim of the Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry, almost as quickly as they rushed to condemn the Trump administration for identifying Sunday's attack as an act of terrorism. I thought that was a brilliant point by Isaac Shore, saying they are very quick, and we've talked about this on the program, to use Hamas's propaganda numbers, as we reported on yesterday. They report it as quickly as they condemn, as we saw with CNN, the Trump administration having the audacity to call this terrorism. What else is it? Prestigious Ivy League professors and their students have celebrated the massacre of Jews with impunity. And actors and musicians have used their enormous cultural power to act as Hamas's unwitting propagandists. Jew hatred is the world's oldest, most powerful, and pervasive bigotry, flourishing in cultures all around the world and dating back thousands of years. It is a universal language spoken by the far left and far right Islamist radicals and Hollywood stars, ignorant know-nothings, and supposedly learned public intellectuals. That's why it's so dangerous. When those with a microphone indulge the impulse to blame Jews for their own misfortune, they're indulging the worst of a relatively broad base of society. So just wrapping up here, The professed surprise at the horrors unfolding across the country is not just an indictment of their naivete, but an admission of complicity in them. I thought that was a very important point by Isaac Short. So we can talk more about that. I'm going to give you a couple quick updates on how this ties in with universities. We're not going to focus too much on universities this morning, but I do have a couple of updates from yesterday's program. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Pardon me, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service, licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
Attention, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta. A day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark, get set, row.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aco. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Yesterday, we brought to you the story of CUNY's labor school chairman, who had posted anti-Israel, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Well, the board chairman of CUNY's School of Labor and Urban Studies resigned yesterday after the public university's chief demanded his ouster for spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. That's their quote about Israel. Arthur Chilotes, 76 years old, had posted theories and lies that Israel was in on or welcomed the October 7, 2023 terrorist attack as a pretext to take over the Gaza Strip. And we had mentioned this on yesterday's program. He also had a post comparing Benjamin Netanyahu to Adolf Hitler. In a statement released by Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez, CUNY has zero tolerance for any type of hate. The outrageous comment, endorsed by Arthur Chilitos, who leads an independent 501c3 organization that is not governed by the CUNY administration, promote dangerous anti-Semitic conspiracies that have no place in CUNY or anywhere else. He needs to step down immediately. He later released a statement saying, "Today I resign my position as chair of the CUNY School of Labor and Urban Studies Labor Board. A personal social media post of mine has distracted from the important work of an institution I care about deeply. I do not wish to distract from its critical mission and work any further." So you notice no apologies, no denouncing what he had said, just he didn't want to be a distraction. But an update from yesterday. Now, there was others that had spoke out against this, against him, but we don't need to go through all of that. Also, on that front, at Harvard, who has been dealing with the anti-Semitism on college campuses, Harvard has granted an honorary degree to a former Berkeley professor known for for being an anti-Israel zealot. Harvard University has given an honorary degree to a retired UC Berkeley professor who is a fierce advocate for boycotting Israel. Elaine H. Kim, who has a long history of anti-Israel activism, was among the 6 honorary degree recipients Harvard awarded during Harvard's ceremony on Thursday. The retired Berkeley professor is notably listed as an endorser of the U.S. campaign for the academic and cultural boycott of Israel, which seeks to systemically destroy the world's only Jewish state through financial means by boycotting companies that do business with Israel. The university's president, Alan Garber, read Kim's citation for her Doctors of Law degree, stating dynamic and devotion to building community. She sees that making waves can help raise the tide. Harvard, which has been plagued with anti-Semitism scandals following the October 7th terrorist attack, is in the midst of a battle with the Trump administration. As the editors noted, if Harvard knew of Kim's Israel boycott advocacy and went ahead with it anyway, it represents an extraordinary recklessness. There's a whole world out there of people that Harvard can choose to honor with an honorary degree. Okay, speaking of colleges here, and we are going to get to New York State issues, but I see that I have a minute before I have to take another break. We are going to talk about New York State issues. But Fox News' Howard Kurtz ripped into Scott Pelley. I had mentioned that story to you last week about Scott Pelley giving that commencement speech where he essentially attacks Trump. Scott Pelley, of course, from CBS and 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes going through that battle with the Trump administration, if you will, as Trump has sued them because of that selective editing of Kamala Harris's interview back during the campaign. And then recently, Scott Pelley, as his boss, stepped down, running a whole piece one-sided, no interviews with anybody from the Trump administration or Trump supporters, calling Trump such things as a mob boss. Well, Howard Kurtz took aim at Scott Pelley over that commencement speech, saying, I think it's widely inappropriate to use a commencement address to say such things. You do feel bad for the families and the students who are conservative, maybe Trump supporters, who that's supposed to be a very special day in their life. And they're getting lectured about how bad they are because of who they support. And of course, with Pelley's speech, it was very narcissistic, egotistical, as how important the media is and how, it was really just a me scenario. Kurtz argued the speech was not only out of place, but emblematic of a broader ideological slant as CBS News and in the legacy media. Doesn't that reinforce the notion that the network is incredibly biased against the president? That's a very good point. So he went on and talked about how Pelley did, how journalism is under attack and how important he is and how journalism is. But it was completely out of place. It was very much a way to self-aggrandize, to pat themselves on the back. So wildly inappropriate. So there we go. There's our updates. Now we do have a positive update on college campuses, and this is breaking local yesterday. The Corning Community College Regional Board of Trustees has announced that Kim Frock has graciously agreed to serve as the administrator in charge during a leadership transition to ensure continued stability during this period of change. Kim's deep roots in the region and extensive experience in education and finance make her an ideal choice for this vital role. She's widely recognized in the Southern Tier for her dedication to education and community service. That's very much the case. In 2003, she left a successful career at Corning Inc. to co-found the Alternative School for Math and Science. So she has been announced as the administrator in charge at SUNY Corning Community College. So congratulations to Kim Frock, as well as congratulations to Corning Community College. Okay, we've got some New York State updates. We do have a couple things here about Cuomo and his campaign. As I had mentioned, I thought it was a really good point by that one op-ed, which is he's not a great candidate. It's just that the other candidates are really that bad, and that's why his polling numbers are so high. Also, as I mentioned, and we're going to talk about this when we come back, Hochul's estranged, if you will, Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado is going to challenge her in a primary for governor, challenge Governor Hochul, so Democrat running in that primary. We'll talk about that when we come back, what some people had to say about it, including Elise Stefanik. They're saying in many of the pieces that it's the worst kept secret that she's going to run for governor. I don't know. I mean, yes, she's giving interviews where she's going after Hochul, where she's talking very effectively about New York State issues, but why not declare? If you recall, Lee Zeldin declared what would have been April of this year if he was running next year. You see what I mean? About a year and a half out, where we're well past that. Here we are in June, so missing by a few months what Lee Zeldin was able to accomplish. But the nice thing about Stefanik is if you look at the numbers, as former Congressman and current Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski pointed out last week, which was such a great point, or 2 weeks ago, that she is starting, according to the poll numbers, where Lee Zeldin ended after a year and a half of campaigning. Did a great job. Lee Zeldin did a great job, but lost by about 5-6 points. She's starting almost dead even. So let's say the poll was even a little off. She's still doing better than Lee Zeldin, where Lee Zeldin finished. That's a very important number. So love to hear your thoughts on that. Weigh in on, they're quiet today, that's okay. Weigh in on the issues of the day. We're going to talk New York. We also got some other Trump updates, some Democrat Party updates, all of that and much more. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Stay tuned about how you can get the latest in diabetes technology at little or no cost from U.S. Med. Avoid complications like nerve damage, kidney failure, eye and cardiovascular problems. U.S. Med CGM systems offer round-the-clock glucose monitoring in real time, provide alerts, and help users avoid painful finger sticks. U.S. Med works with most insurers, Medicare, and offers a money-back guarantee. Call 800-681-3147.
Attention, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta. A day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark, get set, row.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Boy, we have a busy morning in store, and we're just getting started, and it's already going way too fast. Now, let's go to our Stu Ben Senior Services section of our program, which is reading your comments. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Go online to SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org. Mark writes in, the Democrat man, that is Antonio Delgado, he's the current lieutenant governor, running against Hochul opens up a can of worms for her because it will take votes away from her and hand some votes to a Republican running for governor. Well, it's more, but this would be a primary, Mark, so that really it would be it's just kind of costing her money, and bloodying her up is the term that they use with the negative ads and things like that. So if you ran as third party, I guess it would maybe take away some votes, but this is more she has to get through, or he has to get through, however you want to look at it, through the Democrat Party, and then it moves on to the general election. So really it's more of just a major inconvenience and cost involved with it. But Antonio Delgado, who is currently lieutenant governor, you may not know that, is challenging his estranged boss, incumbent Governor Hochul, in next year's election. Delgado called for bold, decisive, transformational leadership for New York in a video launching his campaign for the Democratic gubernatorial nomination. It's love of family, it's love of community, it's love of state, it's love of country, and I'm dedicated to that, Delgado said. That's why I'm running for governor of New York. The video and New York Times story were released moments after the New York Post reported that Delgado was telling allies that he would make his campaign plans public sometime this week. So the Post really broke the story. The former Hudson Valley congressman formally split from Hochul earlier this year following significant public disagreements between the two. Delgado first attracted the governor's ire last summer when he publicly called for President Biden to drop out of the 2024 presidential race. Hochul at the time was an outspoken voice in the chorus of Democrats still cheering on the president. That's interesting. Has she been called on that? What I mean is that been a topic of conversation? I'm sure she's been asked, but it hasn't come across our desk, because she was one of the last holdouts supporting Biden at the time. Now, he's been critical of some of the positions she's taken. Delgado said, there are a lot of folks in politics who wake up every single day thinking about everything but the, we'll say, darn people. The abrupt announcement prompted Hochul to take away many of Delgado's state perks when he originally split with her, like his Capitol office and even office email. Yes, she got very petty with it at the time. Since then, Delgado has been using an email address set up for him by the state Senate, which he technically presides over as lieutenant governor, according to a source familiar with the situation. Now, the statement from the Democratic Governors Association said the governor knows how to take on big fights and win for New York families, and her agenda is overwhelmingly popular with New Yorkers on both sides of the aisle. Really? The Democrat Governors Association is 100% behind Governor Hochul as she continues to deliver for New York, take on Donald Trump, and build the operation it will take to beat Republicans up and down the ballot in 2026. Now, it's undoubtedly a struggle for Delgado to defeat Hochul in that primary. She has the name recognition. She has a $15 million campaign war chest. And, of course, the benefit of keeping New York's powerful unions and other special interests happy as the incumbent. Now, according to Siena College's polling's most recent survey, Delgado will currently receive just 12% of the vote in a matchup, including him, Hochul, and Bronx Representative Richie Torres, who is also rumored to be considering that bid. Richie Torres has been giving, much like, again, he's a Democrat, but much like Elise Stefanik, been saying all the right things that sounds like he's running for governor, just has not officially declared. Richie Torres, very interesting, releasing a lot of op-eds and other statements about public safety and how he's a strong advocate for public safety when he was one of the early defund the policers. But Richie Torres, who is a congressperson right now, is rumored to be considering that run. So that would now put this as a three-person race if he declares, which would be Richie Torres, Hochul, of course, and now Delgado. And that would be in the primary. Representative Tom Suozzi, who posed a bruising primary challenge against Hochul in 2022, was quick to pan Delgado's entry into the race, saying, "Antonio, you are a talented guy with a great future. Based upon my experience, this may not be the most well-thought-out idea." Oof. Elise Stefanik. Oh, we'll get to that in a second. Hold on. We'll get to that in just a second. First, Speaker Carl Hastie tweeted out in reference to this: anyone has a right to run for public office. But what is most important and what our party should be working together towards is pushing back against the serious harm New York is facing from Republicans in Washington and the 7 members of Congress from our state who refuse to fight for us. Governor Hochul has been a strong partner working with me on behalf of all New Yorkers. Healthcare, our kids' education, economic development, jobs, and vital services are all on the line, and we need to be united during this moment in time to ensure the nearly 20 million people we represent are not harmed by Donald Trump and his minions. I guess thinking that's clever beats me. But when we come back, we'll hear what Elise Stefanik had to say about this. Mike Lawler, both rumored to be considering running for governor. That would be on the Republican ticket. Though, as Joe Sempolinski said on the program, we hope there's not a primary. We don't need that. But right now, on the Democrat side, there will be a primary as of right now. Some other New York State issues after that as well. Weigh in on that. Not the most household name, but Antonio Delgado running against Governor Hochul in the Democrat primary. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
Children learn from our behaviors. They learn what is okay from the adults they see. If you're a distracted driver, chances are they will be too. What kind of driver are you raising?
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Attention all, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to be talking with Tony Pucci about his new book that comes out today, so you won't want to miss that. That's live in studio, so if you have any questions for Tony Pucci, I'd love to hear from you. Okay, so Elise Stefanik weighed in on Delgado, Antonio Delgado, the lieutenant governor, announcing that he's going to challenge Hochul in that primary. Elise Stefanik saying Monday her own lieutenant governor that she handpicked is now primarying her, which shows she has lost support, not just from Republicans and independents, but Democrat New Yorkers as well. It is time for new leadership to save New York from the decades of catastrophic failed policies of single-party Democrat rule. Interesting. Now, Mike Lawler, whose name is also being thrown around as a potential Republican challenger to Hochul, tweeting out, her first lieutenant governor was indicted for public corruption. Her second lieutenant governor has announced he's running against her. We can't wait to see who she picks as her third lieutenant governor candidate. Little snarky there. She must be defeated in 2026 and replaced with a Republican governor who can restore balance and common sense in Albany. Now, the primary election for governor is scheduled for June of next year, with the general election to follow, of course, in November. Now, speaking of, and I know he's not really a household name, so I know this isn't the most open for conversation, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Now, speaking of Governor Hochul, a group of corrections officers have filed a class action lawsuit against a long list of defendants. Some of those defendants include the state of New York, the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, and Governor Kathy Hochul herself. This is being reported by WKBW out of Buffalo. The lawsuit filed in the United States District Court for the Western District of New York claims the defendants unlawfully terminated correction officers who were exercising their legal rights under the Family and Medical Leave Act. The plaintiffs involved in this case are seeking monetary damages and reinstatement of their employment. The legal actions come months after corrections officers across New York State went on strike, demanding safer working conditions inside prisons statewide. Low staffing levels, as well as, it says here in the Wildcat strike. So there is a lawsuit seeking monetary damages and a reinstatement of their employment. We know that Governor Hochul went very, very petty with it. Costing some of these people their livelihoods, their insurance for them and their family. And at the very least, if you look at, for instance, when we had Sheriff Allard on from Steuben County, yes, Steuben County were able to hire some for the jail, but think of all that time that they were off, not receiving a paycheck, not having health insurance, and then the way she attempted to originally, that meaning Governor Hochul, originally trying to stop them from getting any type of state-wide employment, state or local public employment. Very, very vindictive. Okay, also, speaking of Governor Hochul, she has launched a new I Love New York summer tourism and travel campaign. The new campaign highlights 2 new ads running through August across the state in traditional drive markets, including Canada. The ads, which showcase some of the state's attractions and activities, will be played across broadcast, streaming, and social platforms. Tourism is synonymous with New York State, thanks to all of our amazing attractions, from beaches to high peaks, from the Erie Canal to iconic museums and performing arts venues, said Hochul's release. This vital industry is facing challenging new political and economic headwinds. That's why supporting our tourism industry is more important than ever, and why we are getting out the message that no matter where you're from, you're always welcome in New York. As part of the new campaign, I Love New York is extending a special invitation to international visitors, especially Canada. All right. The campaign also includes I Love New York's largest ever mobile marketing tour with more than 40 stops throughout the Northeast. The mobile tour will take place at popular events such as music festivals, street fairs, and sporting events where guests can interact with fun experiences to learn more about the state's attractions, win special I Love New York prizes, and take pictures with a large I Love New York logo sculpture. A couple other things coming from Albany this morning. Let's take our last break of hour number 2. And then we'll be back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC, or hour number 1, going into hour number 2. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. I get distracted easy. Stay with us.
In today's world, securing your business is more important than ever. Protected with Boss Security's state-of-the-art alarm systems. When seconds matter, trust the experts. Boss Security is proud to safeguard local businesses across the Twin Tiers. Contact Boss Security today.
It's the 25th Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
If you have one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, wrapping up our discussion. Well, not really wrapping up our discussion. We've got a few other things in the next hour we'll probably get to in regards to New York State issues. But now that it is June, State lawmakers are entering their final legislative sprint. Some of the things being looked at is the New York HEAT Act, the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act, and a slate of prison and immigration reform measures that they're hoping to get over the finish line, and that Republicans are hoping that they can resist and in many instances find common ground or stop some of these measures altogether. No more updates on that bill that was being proposed to limit cows at a farm to 700 or less. But one that we had not heard of that I just found out about today, New York lawmakers are pushing to ban the sale of non-stick cookware over a chemical coating they say is dangerous, even though federal governments have deemed it safe for decades. The popular and typically cheaper style of pots and pans could be wiped off store shelves by the start of 2027 because the kitchen items contain a type of plastic made from forever chemicals. The proposed bill that would ban the chemicals used in the cookware and a slew of other products is the latest in a series of nanny state legislation coming from the Empire State that have passed or will be considered in recent years. Steve Burns of Cookware Alliance said the same type of chemicals are coated on pacemakers and other electronics that are not being attacked by state lawmakers. What we are trying to say is the exact chemical that a cardiac surgeon has been putting into your body for 60 years, how can that possibly be dangerous? But somehow the same chemical, when used to coat a frying pan, is deemed too dangerous. So that's what the focus of Albany is as we speak. We do have a couple updates on Governor Cuomo's mayoral race, just because there are some updates. As I had mentioned, there is a piece by Ross Barkin, a political columnist for the Intelligencer, saying that Andrew Cuomo isn't strong, his opponents are weak. Your thoughts on that? We'll be reading your comments. As you may hear, the street cleaner is in the background, so it may get a little loud. We do have a couple updates on the big, beautiful bill and Russia and Ukraine, all that and much more. Hard to believe. Hour number one is in the books. Thanks to everybody who joined us. Tony Pucci going to be our guest when we come back at the top of the hour. Yesterday, by the way, a lot of people weighing in. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Corning Incorporated announcing the $1.8 million grant to support the Corning Painted Post School District's budget, which will be put up for a vote again. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If that changes your opinion, keeps your opinion, what that does for your budget vote. But hour number one in the books. As always, you can reach out at that number on the bottom of the screen if you have any questions for our guest or just any comments on the program in general. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will be right back.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. We are locally owned and insured and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. John's Tree Service, your source for all your tree needs, where customer satisfaction is our guarantee. Give us a call today at 607-377-6513.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And we're committed to keeping our lineup affordable and free from new tariffs. That's why we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder. So you can get the car you want, at the price you want, knowing Nissan is here for you at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on the 2025 Nissan Rogue or Pathfinder.
Hour number two of Frankly Speaking as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and joining me in the Hesselson studio this morning during I have so many great sponsors, Tony. During the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program, Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. In the studio, Tony Pucci. Good morning.
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Well, good. First of all, congratulations. Today's the release date.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's exciting.
So we've had you on a few times in the past on radio and TV. It's the Michael Bishop Mystery Series, which I've been a big fan of since you first introduced me to them. How many is this now?
This is the 10th one.
Wow. Did you ever think you'd get through 10?
No, not at all.
No. When it first started, was it supposed to be kind of a one and done book?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I just kind of left it open at the end so that if I wanted to pick it up, I could.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that ever since.
What inspires you? Is it almost, I don't want to say work because that sounds negative, but when you're done with this one, do you already start thinking about the next one? You put it off? You say, maybe I won't do a next one? How does that work?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. 10 seems like a nice round number.
Right.
maybe I should
Well,
stop.
I'm not trying to discourage you. Come on.
Maybe I should stop right there. But I do tend to give myself a long break after I finish one of the books because it really is time consuming.
Sure.
And I've committed to once I start writing every day until it's done. And then there's all of that technical stuff.
Sure.
As someone who's self-published, of getting that on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
And doing the ebook, doing the paperback version, and also now recently doing audiobooks.
Oh wow.
So you want to give that a long break. Although I have built in some threads that I could pick up in the next book, I'm really not thinking too much about it for a while.
Sure. How long does it take when you first start to get the idea till the end, till it's published? How long does that take?
It would be about 6 months.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, from beginning to
Because you've
end.
almost been on a trajectory of one a year almost, right?
I have, yeah, since I've retired.
Yeah, very interesting. So for those that don't know, and really it's my job, I should have asked this at first. Tell us about the Michael Bishop series. What is, for those that are unfamiliar with it, what is the Michael Bishop Mystery Series?
Well, when I taught English for 43 years, and I always told my students, write about what you know.
Right.
And what do I know? I knew teaching. And so when I thought about an amateur sleuth, I decided to make him an English teacher.
Yeah.
And that way I could build in a lot of references to literature that I enjoyed teaching over the years and actually use that to build in to the story itself. And so Michael Bishop in those first books was in the classroom a lot, dealing with the students, and then also dealing with, a murder.
Right.
And sort of falling into becoming an amateur sleuth.
Right.
And then it progressed from there. Got to a point where we're thinking, well, how many people in that high school can we kill off?
I was just going to say, it's a fictional school. We want to make that clear. But I think the enrollment would drop significantly.
Yeah. So the fourth book actually is based in Algonquin, Maine,
right.
Murder on the Marginal Way. We've spent a lot of time up there, and I was familiar with the area. And so I had Michael Bishop go on vacation up to Algonquin, Maine. And, of course, he bumps into a former student, which happens to me a lot.
Yeah, of course.
And that student ends up, unfortunately, murdered. And he ends up having to solve that mystery. And it sort of ties into book number 10 because... again, I've gone outside of the school environment, which is upstate New York,
right?
And this one is based in Venice, Italy. Murder on the Grand Canal.
Okay.
And I've been lucky enough to visit Venice twice.
Oh, wow.
And it's an amazing place. Yeah. And I thought, well, if I'm going to, set a novel somewhere else, this would be the place to do it.
Well, and what made you decide to go the travel route? Because didn't you say originally, I think in one of our past interviews, the previous travel edition, if you will, was the most popular sales-wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that'll happen again.
Okay. This race neck and neck right now. Is that why you just decided to go travel, maybe change things up a little bit? Or?
Yeah, it was just to change things up. And as I said, you get into almost a rut of saying, well, it's just the school environment, the school environment. I do manage to keep that thread alive.
Good.
Because you can text and you can call.
Yeah.
And so he finds out that there are things going on back at home that are troubling. Sure. And so he's juggling the mystery that's occurring in Venice. And then he's also thinking about what's going on at home.
So you can still have the same cast of characters that we've gotten to know through the years.
That's right.
So that's kind of interesting that it's going to be a travel, because it's been a while since I read the first travel one, and I'm kind of used to, like you said, the school makeup.
Yeah.
Did you find too, because you mentioned it's in upstate New York, I found that through the years in your books, there's more, maybe I'm wrong about this, but there seems to be more local references through the years. Have you found that to be the case?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at first it was kind of fake names, wasn't it?
Well, yes. Very, very attentive reading on your part. You get an A for that.
Well, thank you.
At first I wanted to be sure that people weren't going to assume, well, this is him, this is Elmira, that sort of thing. So I avoided that at first. And then as I moved along, I thought, well, there's really no harm in bringing in a lot of local references. As a matter of fact, even in this book, which is based in Venice, one of the first activities, he's on a tour group into Venice, and one of their first activities is to visit a glass-blowing factory in Murano, the island of Murano. And I'm thinking, well, you could do that any day of the week right here in Corning.
Exactly.
So there are connections like that.
Do you find when you're not writing a book, is mysteries your favorite genre?
I have been reading a lot of mysteries, which I never did. It was my wife who was the mystery reader.
Yeah.
And when I retired, she said, I bet you could do this.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started reading them, writing them, and reading them as well.
Yeah. And this is the 10th book, Murder on the Grand Canal. If someone hasn't been a part of the Michael Bishop series, would you recommend, is there a book that they should get into first, or just start right from the beginning?
Well, as we've talked about this before, you could start from the beginning because it gives you then a perspective as the characters grow and develop.
Yeah.
And when I look back to the first book, sometimes I'm sort of surprised at how far it's come.
Yeah.
But they are self-contained. Each book is self-contained, and so you could pick up any one of them and read it and have a complete experience. And actually, book 10 would be a good place actually to start.
Sure.
Because at the beginning, I can tell you that finally Michael Bishop retires.
Yeah, right.
So we get him out of the classroom.
Yeah, oh, good.
And that's when he has time then to go on vacation, and he goes to Venice, Italy. So that you could start with 10.
Sure.
You could start with number 1. You could start anywhere in between. Although, you do sort of miss some of the connections as character relationships develop.
Sure.
At the beginning, there is no Marianne,
Right.
who is a former student of Michael Bishop from the class of '88, and he ends up meeting her again, many years after having taught her, because her daughter is the assistant principal now at the school.
Yeah.
And that relationship begins to develop. As a matter of fact, she goes with him to Venice, Italy.
Don't give too much away. I was going to ask, but I didn't want to. I will find out along with the viewers. Like in runs. Do you need to reread the books as you start a new one to keep those threads going, or do you think you have it down by now?
Well, no, I I reread the previous book for
one.
sure.
Yeah.
And I do have notes on all the previous books.
Okay.
So I go through because I need to be sure about names, and I need to be sure that I'm consistent and what I say about time frames and ages and that sort of thing.
And I know I ask you this every time, but I'm sure people are curious when they read the book. Are some of these characters from real life?
Well, you know, we were on this tour to Venice, Italy, and you spend a lot of time with this small group of people,
right.
And so there might be some vague echoes of them. You know, sort of like an amalgam in a way in some of the characters in the book, but it's not intentional. You know, it's certainly fiction.
Sure.
You know, I think it makes it a little bit more interesting sometimes for people to wonder.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
who might be in there,
or make up something in their mind that I bet you that's this person, or that's right. I'm sure that happens a lot. Do you find it difficult, being your 10th book, to keep coming up with new, fresh ideas?
Well, that's it. I'm getting to that point.
Yeah.
You know, someone recently was talking to me about the books, and I said, yeah, this is my 10th one coming out, and he said, aren't you running out of ideas? You know, and I said, well, not yet.
Yeah, right.
You know, and that was part of moving it to Venice. You know, give it like a fresh start, and I could bring in a lot of new characters. You know, and I could come up with some nice Italian names.
Sure.
You know, like Domenico Passalacqua.
Yes,
you know,
of course.
Sofia Colabastia.
Yeah.
You know, you know, that was kind of fun to do.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you kind of the quick ones here. Do you have one of the books, of the 10, that's your favorite? Or is it always the newest one? Or are they all your babies? What's...
Well, I would say I tend to go with the most recent one as being my favorite.
How many times when you think you're done with the book that you reread it? When you first get the copy, do you sit down and read it? Or are you done with it by then?
No, well, you know, I print it out.
Yeah.
I use a 3-hole punch, put it in a binder, and read it, and go over and make corrections, and then ultimately, you know, when I upload it to Amazon, then I can look at a proof copy, and I always find, frustratingly, you know, a few errors here and there.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, try to do the best I can. It's very difficult to proofread your own work.
I'm sure.
I'm very good at proofreading others. I'm sure my students would attest to that. But you know, it's humbling, you know, to see that sometimes there are some little errors, but I work hard on that. So I've read it a number of times.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite character through the years because of the development process and seeing almost like character grow like a real person?
Well, one of my favorite characters is Ron Jennings.
Yeah.
He's a good friend to Michael Bishop. He's been at the school all those years. They're good colleagues and friends.
And he's a fun character.
You know, and even though it's a murder mystery, I try to build in some suspense, like whodunit, and actually, I don't really know who done it myself.
Right, when you start?
When I
really?
start. And because I'm building the possibility, it could be this one, it could be this one, it could be that one.
Sure.
And then finally I have to make a decision,
right.
You know, and then go from there.
Right.
And actually that's the fun part when I get toward the end of the book, that Michael Bishop has figured out who's done it.
Yeah.
But now how does he actually get that person to confess?
Right.
And there's always that dramatic scene at the end, and he usually gets banged up.
I was going to say, where you think he's going to get hurt, it could be the end.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is very true.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned, and before we go, today is the release date. We'll find out where we can buy it. But the audiobook, that's relatively new?
Yes. They weren't doing audiobooks when I first started. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
But they introduced that possibility. And so I've gone through and I've done, I think, 8 of them as audiobooks, and that process has improved.
Okay.
Well, when I did the first audiobook, there were 6 voices. It's artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay, that's what I was going to ask, yeah.
And there were 6 voices, and I picked one, and then you kind of listen to it, and you're watching it on the screen, and the cursor's moving. And I think I figured out, why they call it a cursor, because you see mistakes.
I'm sure.
You hear them.
And then you
hear them, and then you can see them.
And then, so that's interesting. And that's all. So AI is obviously getting a lot better.
Yes.
So I'm sure it's a much easier process.
Yes. Well, from the 8 voices, they've gone to 25 voices or something. I've stuck with the same lady. We've become sort of friends. And but she's gotten smarter.
Yeah.
Isn't
that interesting?
She used to make a lot of pronunciation mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'd have to stop and try to figure out how to make her say it the right way.
Interesting.
Well, she's getting better at that.
You're doing the work for them. You made it. You made AI better.
That's right.
Bezos and all those other guys. Thank you. I'm sure. Before we go, today is the release day. Murder on the Grand Canal, a Michael Bishop mystery series book. Where can people buy it? Are you going to have book signings like in the past?
Well, the most obvious place to buy it is on Amazon, where people have already pre-ordered it. And so their copies just appeared on their devices this morning.
Okay.
Now, today's the first day to order the paperback. Mm-hmm. And that's true for me, too. I don't have a copy to show you.
I was so disappointed.
But Amazon would be the primary place. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, the audiobook will come later for Book 10. The books are also going to be available at Millport Landing.
Okay.
I have all my books, signed copies of all my books there, but again, it'll be a little while before I get the copies to bring over. We were recently in Ogunquit again, and that Murder on the Marginal Way is now for sale at Book Tenders, which is on Route 1 in York, Maine. So if you're up that way this summer,
interesting.
You can find one of my books there.
Well, there you go. Tony Pucci has been our guest. I can't wait to do this again in about a year.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Congratulations.
You. I appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you very
We'll
much.
be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Scamming is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams, Wednesday, June 4th at the Main Place in Hornell, New York, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and fraud watch tips. Also, the Steuben County Office for the Aging will provide tips on emergency preparedness, June 4th at 12 p.m. To learn more, go to steubencountiny.gov/235.
It's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th. Attention all, it's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th, 2025. Race starts at 2 p.m. On your mark, get set, row.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning,
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We think Tony Pucci, for joining us live in the studio this morning to tell us about the newest edition, Murder on the Grand Canal, a Michael Bishop Mystery Series book. That was during our Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. I can't recommend these books anymore. I love them. I look forward to when they come out. That's why as soon as I saw the announcement that it was coming out, I booked Tony to come on the program. They are a fun read, and they do make you think. I'm not just saying this. I do really enjoy these books. I look forward to them every year. Okay, we're talking about the gubernatorial race. We can move along from that unless you want to weigh in. But on the mayoral race in New York City, Andrew Cuomo is going to debate his rivals with just 3 weeks to go in the primary, which, by the way, early voting opens on June 14th, and that is for the primaries here as well, locally. So for months now, the candidates have been crisscrossing the 5 bureaus, trying to get the endorsements, et cetera, et cetera. But now it looks as if there is going to be a debate, but in typical Cuomo fashion. And he used to do this when it was the governor's race as well. He wants every single candidate, no matter where they poll, on the debate stage with him. So it takes away a lot of his time. A lot of people try to capitalize on their time. There are actually 9 people that will be taking part in the Democrat mayoral primary debate. The debate is going to be on June the 4th. But as this piece, and I do really think it's a very good, commentary, if you will, on what they're dealing with in that race. Andrew Cuomo isn't strong. His opponents are weak. The former governor, who resigned in disgrace in 2021, led the Democratic field with 35% of first-place votes, according to the latest Emerson poll. And second was Zohran Mamdani. Now, he's a very interesting candidate. He is that far-left kind of questionable about when we talk about the straining in the Democrat Party or the marbling in the Democrat Party of anti-Semitism. He's been pushing some of that rhetoric. So he is, if you will, the kind of socialist candidate. He's coming in second. The Democrat Socialist is. The ranked choice voting simulation showed Cuomo, who served for more than a decade, beating Mamdani by only 8 points. It's a reminder of how beatable Cuomo may still be. Now, there was a piece that actually came out on Friday, and I didn't bother saving it because, by the time we go on the air Monday, it's kind of old news. But it was kind of interesting. Some insiders or some Democrat power makers suggesting that this is, as we predicted on this program, just a stepping stone for Cuomo. He's looking at this to get back in the national scene. And the article even suggested from an anonymous person that he may be thinking about a 2028 presidential run. So he wants to kind of recoup his image with a victory in the mayoral race, and then, in his mind, clean up the city, and then, who knows, have his name thrown around like it was during COVID for president. Because if you recall at the time, when he was still superstar, before people learned of the nursing home edict and about the questionable surroundings in regards to his book, and of course the harassment, it was suggested, a potential candidate to even replace Biden. And at that point, this was going back to the first time Biden ran, replacing him because he was just such a popular national figure in his mind and in the Democrat Party's mind. Cuomo is both the most vaunted mayoral frontrunner in generations. No Democrat in decades has held such a commanding lead over his rivals for this long, and obviously vulnerable candidate. He has hoovered up a great deal of establishment support, but has run a creaky, gun-shy campaign, bungling campaign finance paperwork that cost him a lot of money, and largely ducking the city's press corps. Few New Yorkers seem genuinely excited about him. He lurches onward, the great juggernaut, attracting enough voters who see him as a corrective to the chaos of the Eric Adams years. Never mind that a sexual harassment scandal drove Cuomo from office and that he faced repeated denunciations from both parties for how he managed the state during the pandemic. And of course, that's in reference to putting COVID-positive patients in nursing homes, which is a large scandal along with the sexual harassment scandal. And mind you, fighting that sexual harassment scandal cost New York taxpayers, what? Almost $70 million. But it's still an open question whether Mamdani can actually overtake him. Cuomo's super PAC, after spending months propping him up, will probably begin to lash Mamdani, who has been a masterful fundraiser and communicator, but could prove alienating to more moderate and conservative Democrats, Jews especially, since he is identified as an anti-Zionist. But no more, we don't need to know any more about this. Just something to keep in mind. If Cuomo is the next mayor, there's going to be plenty of blame to mete out, they said. Now, he did do a sit-down interview with the New York Times where they asked him 10 questions and asked what's the most important issue in the race. He said lack of management capacity, evidence through all of the above. Lack of affordable housing, deterioration of quality of life. They all stem from poor management. Then the existential threat is Trump. Okay. I think we probably spoken enough on this program right now about the former governor. But they did ask him, do you regret your decision to resign as governor? He said, if I had to do it again, I wouldn't have resigned. At the time, I thought that I would be a distraction to government functionality, that they would all be involved in impeachment proceedings, blah, blah, blah. Looking back, what was really been done in the last 4 years anyway, right? What has really been done in the last 4 years anyway, right? Maybe I could have accelerated this whole process and it wouldn't have taken 4 years. It could have been done in 6 months. If judges actually had people come in and they gave sworn testimony, but in retrospect, I wouldn't have resigned. At the time, I thought it would have been too much of a distraction and hurt the great functioning of government, which was going to go build great things and do great things. So he regrets resigning, and this is for the sexual harassment, but also that's why he ultimately resigned. But remember, he has never admitted to the nursing home disaster. He has fabricated numbers. He has hidden the facts and has never been apologetic to the families who lost loved ones. But then he took a dig at his predecessor, Governor Hochul. It sounds like you don't think your successor, Governor Hochul, has done that. He said, well, you can judge the record of, did I say predecessor? Successor. Governor Hochul has done. He said, well, you can judge the record of accomplishment for the past 4 years. Anyway, just kind of interesting. Then they asked some quick questions. Do you own a car? He says, I own several vehicles. I don't. These type of things are quite strange to me. What is your bagel order or favorite breakfast sandwiches? This is how I think outlets like the New York Times and elsewhere lose credibility. But he said bacon, cheese, and egg on an English muffin, and then I try to take off the bacon, but I don't really take off the bacon. The bagel I try to stay away from to keep my girlish figure. Enough on that. All right, when we come back, a little bit about the Democrat Party, because we had that poll for you yesterday that was not speaking positively of what people think of the Democrat Party as it stands right now. We'll talk about that. Keep your waves, keep your comments coming in. Thanks again to Tony Pucci for being our guest. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
World's poorest places. Children with cleft conditions live in darkness and shame. They're shunned, outcast, living in pain. You can reach out and change the life of a suffering child right now. A surgery that takes as little as 45 minutes. And your act of love can change a child's life forever. Please call or visit operationsmile.org now. Thousands of children are waiting.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
The Fox Sports app isn't just any sports app. It's your sports app.
For the touchdown!
Yeah, yours. Your teams. Your highlights. Your scores. your stories. Just choose your favorites to get more of what you want.
To the end zone!
And of course, stream your teams live. The best part is free with your pay TV subscription. Grab your Fox Sports app today.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And feel free to send in your comments on the issues of the day for our Steuben Senior Services section of our program, where we read viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Contact them today at SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org. So please get your comments coming in here. Democrat Party had horrendous polling yesterday. We had talked about it quickly on the program, but shock polling showing the Democrats are still languishing behind Republicans on economic issues. And the numbers were so horrendous that it stunned Harry Enton, the CNN analyst. Enton, the network's numbers cruncher, marveled at Democrats' inability to close the gap with Republicans and what is typically the most important issue for voters, despite recession jitters, stock market volatility, and President Trump pressing forward with a tariff plan. Enton said you'd expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. He unveiled new CNN polling showing the GOP still holds a massive advantage over Democrats. Republicans led Democrats by 8 points when asked which party was closer to your economic views in the May survey. And noted that the survey was still within the margin of error. But still, he said, how is that possible, Democrats? How is it possible after all the recession fear, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me? So he's no doubt upset. That's not what they thought would happen. Party with a better economic plan? Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. Yeah, I think people have decided, because of the lack of credibility in the media, they're not going to be duped by the propaganda that keeps telling you how bad everything is under Trump. Also, they're not the media who wants to blame Trump instantly. They understand that it's only been 100 and some odd days, right? That Trump can't undo the 4 years of damage under the Biden administration overnight. I know the media has been pushing that narrative and saying, well, he said he could, always taking him literally instead of figuratively. And so what you have is, according to these polls, in my opinion, an American people that have said enough with the media lying to us, enough with the propagandizing and the hatred of Trump. We're going to ride out and see what Trump can do to fix the 4 years under Biden. But again, Enton saying this after months of supposed economic uncertainty in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on, and yet despite all that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. But nothing speaks to Democrat problems on the economy better than polls asking voters to choose which is the party of the middle class. A poll question that has traditionally given Democrats a huge advantage. In our latest CNN poll among registered voters, which is the party of the middle class, it is tied, he said. This, I think, speaks to Democratic ills more than anything. They have traditionally been the party of the middle class. No more. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have taken that mantle away. Republicans have completely closed that gap. Even CNN, that was on CNN, but CNN having two key findings of this recent poll that shows the problem for Democrats. The GOP has the edge on strong leaders. The question about strong leaders, only about 1 in 6 Americans said Democrats have stronger leaders than Republicans. That's a a disastrous number for the Democrats, and also a counterintuitive Democratic deficit on party of change. When they were asked which is the party of change, Americans chose Republicans 32% to Democrats 25%. However you feel about the changes Trump is making, there's no question he is pushing lots of them. You see that in his and the Department of Government Efficiency's rapid overhaul of the federal government, and in Trump's historic efforts to expand executive power in ways that are often being halted by the courts because they go too far, too fast. But none of this means Democrats are sunk in the 2026 election, says CNN, or anything close to it. History shows a party that doesn't hold the White House almost always wins midterm elections, in large part because they're viewed as a check on the president. Democrats and liberal candidates have also been doing well in special elections and other races held since the 2024 election. In other words, being not Trump could be good enough to at least reclaim a very closely split House. But the Democrat Party wants to run up the score in 2026 and really chart a path for the 2028 election, as some real work to do on its branding. CNN's Scott Jennings slammed Democrats for being on the wrong side of key issues, and he even offered a surprise pick for who he believes could rejuvenate the Democrat Party. I'll defend the Democrats, said Scott Jennings. Now, Scott Jennings is a conservative pundit on CNN. He does a very good job. He spoke at a Trump rally towards the end as well. But he said, I'll defend the Democrats. They are for things. Illegal aliens. You're for boys and girls sports. That's why you have such struggles right now in your party, because you're not for anything that's on the right side of any of the 80-20 issues that are driving the culture divide in America. He slammed progressive Democrats in the limelight, including AOC and Jasmine Crockett, and suggested party leaders should instead listen to voices like Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Now, Maryland Governor Wes Moore recently started the speculation growing that he's going to run in 2028. The speeches he gave, just some not official announcements, but the speculation is starting to swirl around Wes Moore. So that's who Scott Jennings believes could rejuvenate the party, not the Jasmine Crockett's with her kind of violent rhetoric or the AOC's with her far left agenda. Moore is interesting, he said, probably more interesting than some of the radicals you have out there, Crockett, AOC. I mean, those are the true leaders of your party right now, but you'd probably be better off replacing them with Moore. He also blasted Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who attended a South Carolina fish fry over the weekend alongside Moore, as whispers of potential 2028 primary runs swirled. The other person who spoke in South Carolina, Tim Walz, is a special mixture of extreme buffoonery and a mean spirit, which is a toxic brew. He is not the future of the Democrat Party. So he's suggesting Wes Moore. Something to keep in mind. All right. A couple other Democrat issues when we come back. We're just a tad bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Are you having hearing your TV or listening to conversations in loud spaces? Then it might be time to consider Nano hearing aids. Don't mistake Nanos for cheap amplifiers. Nanos are FDA-registered OTC hearing aids, which means no more having to go to a doctor and spend thousands. Nano hearing aids are now offering $100 off through this special TV offer. Order right now and get 2 CIC rechargeable hearing aids for only $297. And if you're not happy, return them for a full refund.
Catch Twin Tiers local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And let's go to the Steuben Senior Services section of our program. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Go online to SteubenSeniorServicesFund.org. And this is a comment from Mark. He writes, the Democrats are down by 12 points in the poll, and they don't know why. How about they left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and we are on to their bad government actions? Well, I think there's a point to be made on a lot of different levels. If you recall the lecturing that we went through during the campaign, the snarkiness too, I think people are just left with a overall bad taste and being lied to over and over again, saying that, no, the economy is actually really good, you just don't get it, these type of things. It played a bigger role. But speaking of Democrats, Representative Jamie Raskin was on MSNBC yesterday, and he said, I am focused on the Constitution and defending the rights of the people under the Bill of Rights. I am focused on Article 1 powers of Congress, the lawmaking power of Congress. We have done a dozen different amicus briefs in cases ranging from birthright citizenship to due process to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and we're winning every single day. So we kind of have to divide the labor up. People need to be organizers in defense of democracy and freedom. We've got to recapture the momentum here so we can defend the judicial independence that's working for us. We get into next year. We win the House back. We cut this reign of terror in half, and we move on to win back the White House and to get on with American history and our regularly scheduled programs of trying to make progress for the American people. We got to defend our democracy, and we've got to defend achievements of democracy like Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security. Man, this is so cliche. Nothing's going to happen to Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. The only thing that changes with Medicaid is that if you're able-bodied, they're asking that you even volunteer, work, go to school for 80 hours a month. So don't let them lie to you. And the idea that if they win the House, Trump's reign of terror will be cut in half. That's the kind of rhetoric, I guess, that they think is going to win them back the House. Well, speaking of which, Fetterman, who's been kind of out of the news, remember the left hates John Fetterman now. You remember, and they were saying that he has health issues, and they were trying to do everything they could to destroy him. Well, John Fetterman is comfortable taking a sharp stance against his own party, a point that he reiterated during a forum moderated on Fox News alongside his Republican counterpart, Senator Dave McCormick. The Democrat maverick has made a name for himself, is willing to buck his party's marching orders, oftentimes siding with Republicans on thorny policy issues. He said that's part of bipartisanship where, it's getting more and more kind of punitive to just agree with some of these things in the middle of the party right now. Fetterman condemned the recent attack in Boulder, saying, for me, that moral clarity, it's really firmly on Israel. I refuse to allow to try to turn Israel into a pariah state, and that's right in the middle of that. He even took a jab at Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's handling of the government funding fight earlier this year. He said that that's a mistake that our party, our border. I absolutely support these kinds of investments to make our border secure as well. Yes, saying that was a huge mistake. Democrats did not handle the border appropriately. So becoming a kind of maverick, and because of that, they questioned his mental health. They questioned his overall health. Not really surprised. The long knives come out when you don't just toe the party line, but we hadn't heard from him in a little while, so I wanted to mention it. Also, quickly, a senior official in Republican President Donald Trump's Justice Department told staff Monday that he has been directed to investigate clemency granted by Democrat Joe Biden in the waning days of his presidency to members of his family and death row inmates. Ed Martin, the Justice Department's pardon attorney, wrote in an email seen by Reuters that the investigation involves whether Biden, quote, was competent and whether others were taking advantage of him through use of autopen or other means. Trump and his supporters have made a variety of unfounded claims that Biden's use of the device while president invalidated his actions or suggested that he was not fully aware of these actions. It is not known whether Biden used autopen on the pardons. The email stated that Martin's investigation is focused on preemptive pardons Biden issued to several members of his family and clemency that spared 37 federal inmates from the death penalty, converting their sentences to life in prison. Just before he relinquished the presidency to Trump, Biden pardoned 5 members of his family, saying he wanted to protect them from future politically motivated investigations. Martin's email did not specify which pardons of Biden family members were being investigated. It is also not made clear who directed Martin to launch the investigation. So again, Trump's Justice Department examining pardons issued by Joe Biden on his way out the door. We got a couple other updates about the Trump administration when we come back. Show's going quickly, folks. We only got about 15 minutes left, so get your comments, get your waves in. Again, I do want to thank Tony Pucci for being on the program this morning. Murder on the Grand Canal comes out today. It's a Michael Bishop mystery by our friend Tony Pucci. So if you have not started that mystery series, I would highly recommend it. Either kick off with this brand new, the 10th book in the series, or start from the beginning. You can find them all on Amazon. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, we will be right back.
Why do you ride?
Why do I ride?
I like doing dangerous things safely.
I ride because I can't imagine not.
I'm kind of a gearhead.
I love being lost. There's no way I'm putting a GPS on my bike.
Knees in the breeze, man. It's like, there's nothing like it.
There's a love for riding that can't be explained unless you ride. And if you're ever injured on a motorcycle, we're ready to help. Hurt on a motorcycle? Call William Attar, 444-4444.
It's the 25 Cardboard Boat Regatta. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14, 2025.
My advice to all the fathers out there, they grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC, on TV, or our website. The Twitter's first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. And let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments and get your viewer comments in right towards the end here as we have one more break before we wrap up today's edition. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. The attack on the Jewish protesters in Colorado was horrible. I'm not Jewish or Palestinian, but I hate seeing what's happening on both sides of this conflict. I have to say the Palestinians have to feel helpless with the relentless pounding they have taken in Gaza and the 54,000 deaths at the hand of Israel. I just want a full disclaimer. I don't agree with those numbers, and I don't agree with the statement, but I do want to continue reading Rick's comment here. Those are supposed to be the Holy Lands over there, and all they do is blow each other up. It never ends over there, and I believe that is the driving force behind the current anti-Semitism in our country. But there's also, the indoctrination level at the college campuses where the grown-ups are pushing it, so to speak, and you have well-known and named politicians pushing it as well. But I'll continue. I don't feel bad about Ukraine making scrap metal out of a pile of Putin's long-range bombers. And unlike the aforementioned conflict, Russia earned it, deserved it, and totally missed it. Great job, President Zelensky. Bravo. My take on Medicaid conflict is this. I'm sure Trump will push the big, beautiful bill through by threatening the Republican senators to take issue with it. Trump has promised no Medicaid cuts, but it's the only way he can pay for the tax cuts he and his buddies get and the modest cuts the American taxpayers get. What I would like to see, but it will never happen, is a process by which people that are abusing the system can be detected. Not one of those Doge sweeps in 2 days they disqualify 150,000 recipients or whatever the number needs to be, regardless if the recipient is abusing the program or not. Have a great day. Thank you, Rick. Have a great day as well. Ken writes in, it's against the law for people to lie to Congress and carries up to a 5-year prison sentence. Every day we see our legislators telling 2 completely different stories while sitting in Congress or being interviewed. Even the sheeple would have to admit that one side has to be lying. Why isn't it against the law for politicians to lie in Congress and to the American people with no consequences for lying to the electorate? Our representatives will never be telling us the truth. This needs to be corrected. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for all the comments coming in this morning. Keep them coming in because we'll have time to read in the last segment any of your comments to wrap up the program. I have to mention this before we do have a couple updates, I think, on Russia, but the Washington Post is being mocked online. Maybe you've heard about this. Even the White House is calling them pathetic because a liberal-leaning news outlet called it a mysterious decline in fentanyl flowing across the border. That is the term they used. A mysterious decline in fentanyl flowing across the border. The Washington Post reports on the decline, stating the U.S. seizures at the southern border are down by almost 30% compared with the same period back in 2024. The outlet, however, states that the drop, quote, represents something of a mystery. After years of confiscating rising amounts of fentanyl, the opioid that has fueled the most lethal drug epidemic in American history, U.S. officials are confronting a new and puzzling reality at the Mexican border. Fentanyl seizures are plummeting. Among the possible reasons listed by the outlet are cartels finding other ways to smuggle the drug into the U.S., cartel internal strife, ingredient shortages, and a possible decline in demand. Though baffled by the reason for the decline, the Washington Post posited that public health authorities are concerned that the Trump administration's budget cuts could hurt programs that have promoted overdose antidotes and addiction treatment. So not only are they not giving Trump credit where credit's due and cracking down the border and cracking down on fentanyl, they also took this number of less fentanyl flowing across the border to use as a negative on Trump. Representative Tom Tiffany said the Washington Post is reporting a mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures at the southern border. Mystery solved. The Trump effect is working. Charlie Kirk saying 4 months into the Trump administration, the Washington Post is marveling at the mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures on the Mexican border. Is the Post simply lying, or are their reporters as dumb as the people they're writing propaganda for? The Department of Homeland Security's official X account replied, "It's no mystery. On day one, President Trump closed our borders to drug traffickers. The world has heard our message loud and clear." So just a major mystery. By the way, largest ever ICE operation resulted in nearly 1,500 illegals arrested in blue states. Operation Patriot, the largest ever ICE operation, resulted in the arrest of nearly 1,500 illegals, including murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, and child sex predators in the deep blue sanctuary city, heavy state of Massachusetts. Operation Patriot concluded on Saturday after netting 1,461 illegal aliens throughout the greater Boston area and the state of Massachusetts, which included numerous sanctuary jurisdictions. There we go. All right, we got to take a break. Get your last second comments in. We'll read them as we wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We'll be right back.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Will our challengers make it or sink? Tune into the Cardboard Boat Regatta. That's right. Attend the Watkins Glen Regatta, June 14th at 2 p.m. It'll be a splash.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
Haley Livingston, Big Fox News, Corning, New York.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning, I want
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, now during the Student Senior Services section of our program, we read some viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. They just won't give President Trump credit for anything. It's almost laughable if it wasn't so disgusting, that article you just read. Yeah, saying that it was a mystery why fentanyl has been cut back at the border, has been effectively, I'm not going to say taken care of, but effectively really controlled. It's been, it's a blessing because it's such a deadly drug, but the mysterious drop in fentanyl flowing, so it's not over, but it has been a huge drop, and they call it mysterious. It couldn't have anything to do with Trump's cracking down at the border. Senator John Thune revealed the GOP plans for Trump's big, beautiful bill that narrowly passed the House. In the Senate, of course, a lot of our members are interested in some of these areas that the House made 5-year windows. We'll be looking at some of those things. Thune insisted that he still wanted to get the package off Capitol Hill by the July 4th holiday, even though passing a separate Senate version of the bill would trigger intense negotiations on a compromise version of the bill, which would have to pass both houses of Congress again before the president could sign it. So a ways to go. Oh my goodness, we're out of time. Ukraine, the stunning assault that's really disrupted Russia's global military strategy. Some are comparing it or calling it, if you will, Russia's Pearl Harbor, not seeing it coming. One Russian military blogger said, "We hope that the response will be the same as the U.S. response to the attack on Pearl Harbor, or even tougher." Well, of course, that's not going to be the case. Mike Johnson's effort to sanction Russia as strongly as we can is his quote. There are many members of Congress that want us to sanction Russia as strong as we can. I am an advocate for that. I can't read your comment, Mark, but it's a mystery. It's a mystery why fentanyl is down. How about we have a president with, we'll say, guts? Yes, made that priority number one and closed down the border, and that's why fentanyl has dropped. It's still a very serious concern, but to think that they used that article to not give him any credit, saying it was a mystery why it dropped, and then to add insult to injury, insulting the president, or trying to hurt the president by saying there could be cuts so it could get bad, when none of that reporting would have been done under the Biden administration. They didn't talk about fentanyl. But we are out of time. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again to Tony Pucci for coming on the program, telling us about his new book out today. Appreciate that. You can find it at Amazon. So thank you to Tony Pucci for being on the program. Have a great day, everyone, and join us every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. Look forward to it already.
Scamming seniors is a huge problem today. Worldwide, seniors lost $4.8 billion to scammers in 2024. The Steuben County Office for the Aging is here to help. Come to our seminar, Recognizing and Avoiding Financial Scams, Wednesday, June 4th at the Main Place in Hornell, New York from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Learn how to identify scams, how to protect yourself, and fraud watch tips. Also, the Steuben County Office for the Aging will provide tips on emergency preparedness, June 4th at 12 p.m. To learn more, go to steubencountiny.gov/235.
Hi, this is the owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
So I sent you the frog order. All right.
why do they both have 2 drinks in their hands? Like,
There's a lot of questions that need answers.
I know. She didn't seem too interested in telling us.
No.
I hated him. When you go. Check 1, 2, check. Good evening. Ow.